You have to be fully alert when you see this film. Otherwise, you'll miss out on so many things. Most people tend to predict this story before they see it. It's a sad story. He's not honest, she's mean. All these presumptions make them blind to all the important details. Here's an important scene. This is pretty near to the end. Setsuko is dying of malnutrition and Seita uses all of his savings to buy eggs and rice. And he cooks porridge with rice and eggs. But Setsuko dies while he's cooking. A very sad scene. This is the porridge. This one here. The porridge is in the clay pot and there's a rice bowl. There's chopsticks and he's using the cutting board as a tray. And this thing made out of a shell is used as a spoon. It looks handmade. Seita was also using this spoon at his aunt's house, so I guess he got it there. Eventually, Setsuko dies while Seita's cooking, and it's very sad. But the next day, after she dies... Sorry, let's turn off the fan. The next day, while Seita is cremating her body, while he cremates the body with the charcoal, the camera turns to the cave and captures the interior of the cave pretty clearly. This scene. Here. This is where they slept, and you can see the light coming through the door. And in front of that, you can see the clay pot. I traced it so that you can see it more clearly. There's chopsticks and the spoon stuck inside. Seita ate it all by himself. So from time to time, Takahata drops hints that shows Seita's personality and his emotions. I think most people assume that he didn't eat it because it shows the porridge untouched before this scene. But you can see that Seita ate it before Setsuko's funeral. Now, why did Takahata go to the trouble of asking the animator to draw such a scene? A good example of his cruel side. And we can also see the watermelon Setsuko couldn't eat. She could only have a bite. This watermelon also appears while he's cremating, and it shows that he ate this as well. And then when I told this to someone, he said, no, the ants ate it, not him. So I did some research on it. After he cuts a small chunk of the watermelon and gives it to Setsuko, he cuts the rest in 2 halves and says, I'll leave it here. So the ants couldn't have left it looking like this. Seita is acting quite normal after Setsuko dies. He's really alert. He has an appetite, and Takahata shows that he's eating. But you can see a very subtle portrayal of humanity when you look closely. You can see that there's a piece untouched on the left-hand side. This is the piece Seita gave to Setsuko in the beginning. It's the sweetest bit on the very top. Setsuko barely manages to eat it and says, it tastes good. Seita couldn't possibly eat that, obviously. He already gave it to Setsuko. So Takahata shows both his kindness and his desire to live at the same time. That is Takahata's way of depicting reality. Most people miss out on these things. Can't bear it. Is it too much for you guys? Well, Seita seems strong on the surface, but He cries every time Setsuko shows some kind of bravery. For example, when she says, "I heard from Auntie that my mom is already dead and sleeping in the grave," he starts crying like a baby. On the other hand, after Setsuko's death, after Setsuko dies, he doesn't cry at all. Even when he lies next to her body overnight, he remains expressionless. He lies next to her like this, and this scene is where he's cremating her body. Takahata intentionally drew his face with a blank expression. We can only see the red reflection of the fire in his eyes. He chose expressionlessness rather than sadness. And there's a good reason for this. So, even though the actors are expressionless, the audience sometimes sees sadness in them. This is called the Kuleshov effect. This is an effect discovered by a filmmaker in Russia. No, maybe before the Soviet Union era. This is an example often used to explain the effect. If you show an expressionless man and a dead body of a child in turn, you'd think that this man is sad. Expressionless man and a hot soup makes you think that this man is hungry. Expressionless man and a flirtatious woman makes you think that the man is filled with lust. It is also called montage theory. Montage literally means editing films. So the Kuleshov effect is basically about creating psychological effects through editing. On the other hand, Miyazaki hates the Kuleshov effect. He hates it. He's against it. I'll tell you what Miyazaki likes. This is Dola from Laputa Castle in the Sky. "Don't be such a pussy. You ought to do that on your own." And then she says to herself, might not be a bad idea. We can get that girl on our side. You see? She's explaining herself. He makes it really easy for the audience to understand the character. On the other hand, Takahata doesn't want to have the characters explaining themselves too much with extra lines, making them easy for the audience to understand. So he uses this Kuleshov effect and shows the expressionless Seita to express his devastation. What I'm trying to say is that the reason why we cry so much in this scene is because we automatically believe that Seita is suppressing his sadness. We imagine that he's suppressing his sadness and trying to look normal and brave. That's why we get so emotional. But it's more like he has lost his humanity. He has lost all his human emotions. That's why he gets hungry and eats whatever is left. He's relieved that he doesn't have to take care of her anymore. When the author, Akiyuki Nozaka, discussed this scene with Takahata before the film was made, he said, "I'm not a great person. Honestly, I was relieved when my sister died." He begged Takahata to include this in the film, and Takahata made a promise. So he's pretty calm when he goes to buy the charcoal to cremate Setsuko's body.